Hi folks, it's Amy again. I'm going to show you how I did my second card for the level 2 challenge. I think this is the second one. Anyway, this is done with some blending and some watercolor. I love the card. I love the way it came out. Pretty impressed with it, if I do say so myself. Looking for my cream coat because I need the cream coat too. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to do this one. We're going to go step by step how to get this look. I'm mainly going to focus on how we got the trees and how we got the moon the way it is. And this is just some blending in the background, which most of you should be able to accomplish, but we'll go over it. Give me just a second. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start, which I already have it done, so you don't have to worry about how to do this. We did like we did in the first card. We stamped this on some watercolor, and we heat embossed it with some white embossing powder with stamped it with Versamark, heat embossed it with white embossing powder, and we came up with the white. So then what I did was I took Crystal Effects and I did the Perusian blue. I did this one right here so you can see it. Could get it right to the spot. We used this one. And then all I did was I wet my paper. I took the paper and I had it nice and wet, and I sprinkled the Brusho on top of it, and I set it aside and let it dry. Came out with this. Now I've already cut portions of this out, and that's what we're going to do here in a bit. So that's how I got my trees. So I'm going to get that out of our way. Now I'm going to show you how we did the blending. We're going to do the blending. Now my cardstock sizes are a little bit bigger than we used. This one is probably 3.5 by 5. Let me double check that for us, because I don't want to lie. Yes, 3.5 by 5. And then the white around it is 1/4 off of that, or 1/8 off of that. So we're going to just go ahead and let me trim this to make sure it's right. And you can save your little piece that's left over for our sentiment. So there we go. We have our little base, and we're going to start first with Stormy Sky. I used Distressed Oxide for this. I used Stormy Sky and Chip Sapphire, two of my favorite colors. I really like the Chip Sapphire. It's my favorite. So I'm just going to use my blender brush, and I'm using my glass mat because it's super easy to clean after everything. So I'm just going to come in here, and I'm going to be heavy-handed at the edges, but I want to get a little color everywhere just on this first coat with the Stormy Sky. But I don't want to be too heavy on the inside, especially where I'm going to put that moon. Now I did learn with my moon from Altenew is that moon, there are dies that go with it, but I didn't buy the dies because I don't know why. I just didn't buy the dies. I did find out that my 1 1/4 inch stamp or punch that I had worked well with it. So that's what I'm going to use for cutting mine out. So now I also saw where I actually did that in this one. I ripped a piece of paper, and let's see if I still have that piece of paper here. I thought I did. Yes. So I have a piece of paper here. I was practicing some techniques, and what I did to get some shading in different ways was I kind of put this on here and just went over it a little bit. Oh, see, and then I move. I'm holding it on. I do suggest you tape it if you want it to be perfect, but I'm not looking for perfect. I'm just looking for it to give me a little detail. And notice how I've got some color in here. Not a lot. And I'm going to put that to the side. Now, I'm going to take my Inkadoo paper. This is the Inkadoo paper that I have. And I'm going to punch me a circle out of it so that I can cover it up and make sure that I have my moon. And shame on me for not having my circle already punched for you. So there we go. Now we've got our circle. Now I'm going to just put this where I want it to go. Now I did not stamp anything with the moon yet. I could go ahead and stamp the moon, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just do that in a little bit. So I'm getting my moon here, my little circle masking piece, because I don't want the moon to be any darker than this. And I'm going to go for the center, kind of like right here. And we're just going to put that on top of there. Because now we're going to go with the darker color. And it does not matter that your colors mix. It is okay. Because you're going from a light color to a dark color. And I'm going to get my dark distressed oxide here. And of course you see it all over my table. And I'm going to come in heavy-handed with this on the edges. And you don't have to be perfect. It's okay if you have the splotchy little colors, because that's what makes it look kind of eerie and cold and Christmassy-ish, which I kind of think this should be a Christmas card. But my husband absolutely loves blues, and I'm going to go a little dark here too. So, and then we're also going to try to make it just a little bit darker around that moon. Not heavy, but so you see a little bit of a shape of a mountain maybe. Just kind of foggy. It looks kind of cool, right? Now I'm going to move my colors out of the way. We're done with blending. And I'm going to move this out of the way. And I'm going to wipe this up a little bit because we can't have that all over everything. The beauty of a glass mat. When I bought this, was probably one of the best things I have purchased for my crafty space ever. I can use it for my alcohol markers. I can use it for my alcohol inks. Doesn't matter. It's wonderful. You will probably see it in every single video I do for this. All right, now we have this. I'm going to take my little moon off and see how my moon looks. So now I'm going to, I could stamp a little gray on that, which I probably will, just so you can see them both in their glory. Let's get the moon stamp out. I know I have it out. It's right here. It's our moon stamp. And I've got my little square here, my little block. And like I said, it does come with a punch, but I forgot it for some reason. I don't know why, but it's okay. My circle punch worked just fine. So I've got this. I have a little something on my stamp, and it's not on the top of it, so it's okay. All right, so I'm going to use some Smoky Slate. It's just a retired... or it's just a color I had. I used to be a demonstrator. I am no longer a demonstrator. And I'm learning what kind of inks I really like. I like the Ulta new ones. I have not bought a bunch of them because, you know, it is what it is. I just can't get them all at one time, you know. So I'm going to take and stamp off. And I have a scrap piece of paper over here that I've been using. And I'm going to stamp off with this. I have a little dot there. I don't like that dot. There we go. Cut it out. No, we didn't. It's right there. Must be something underneath. See, when you get something underneath, it does that to you. All right, let's see. And if it does it, all else fails, clean it. Even though I did clean it, I'm going to use my little chamois here. I'm going to get this nice and clean. Make sure that that's good. All right. And we'll try this again. And we're going to stamp off because we don't want that much gray on this piece. And I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to line it right in the middle. Now, I do suggest using some piece of foam underneath when you stamp polymer stamps. Now, see, there you go. And you've got that white halo around it. Looks really cool. Now, what we're going to do to get this moon part to look really cool, we're going to stamp it in a darker gray. But first thing I'm going to do is stamp it in some Versamark. Put Versamark on your ink pad. And then we're going to go in with the dark gray that I've got, because I haven't gotten any more of the lava rock and all those beautiful colors from Ulta New. And then we're going to come in here and we're just going to stamp this right in the center. And again, I do suggest using some foam underneath this, and I didn't have it out, so we're going to go with what we've got. Okay, now we've got that stamped on there, and I'm going to use a piece of paper that I have got some, I had static cleaned it. I do suggest you static cling this, but it is still pretty wet, and it won't matter. It's clear. We're using clear embossing powder, and we're just going to put it over the moon. And then we're going to tap it off. There we go. And I'm going to get my little brush out here and make sure I've got all of it off, which it looks like I do. We're good. It just needs to stay on the moon, on that really dark gray. And if it doesn't and goes to little other places, it's okay. It's just going to give it a shine, which I think looks absolutely cool. I really need to get some more clear embossing powder. Now we're going to take the heat, pardon the noise for a moment. And you just want to heat that until it gets nice and shiny. You can heat it from behind so you don't have curls. I kind of go back and forth. There it goes. Nice and pretty. Woo, look at that shine. There we go. Perfect. Now we've got this moon that just super stands out. Isn't that cool? So now we've got that, and see, it did work a little bit on me, even though I went back and forth. All right, move that out of my way. Now what we need to do is work on cutting these trees out. And here's my little scissors. Whew, these aren't the favorite ones. I have gray ones that I like better, but I don't know why they ran off to. So we're going to pick out some trees. Now I suggest when you pick out trees, you want to look for some that have branching pieces off of it, so it looks kind of cool. So I'm really going to cut out like this tree right here. It's got a branch off of it. And then I think I'm going to cut this one out. But I'm going to make it so that they touch each other. See how these two, this one branched out, but it touches it. And this one is right at the edge. So that's what I did with those. So let's just cut those out. And you want to leave the white showing when you cut them out. So as you can see here, I went ahead and put my birch trees on here. And I decided that they didn't look very good on this side. So I moved them over here. And now I'm just going to layer them up. Now I did not put any foam tape between my white piece and my main card front, which is with the moon. So now I'm just going to place this down here and make sure it's centered. And there we go. So now I am going to put the foam tape on this piece to go on here. So let's get some foam tape. I gotta even my foam tape out here because I've been making bits and pieces for my birch trees here to make sure they stayed down. My trees were put on with the foam tape. Now Altenew does sell some foam tape. I don't even remember where I have purchased this particular foam tape. I can't say anything about Altenew because I have not used it yet. But I do love using the foam tape. I didn't really use it before. I use little teeny tiny dimensionals, and using the foam tape gives it such a better feel and sturdiness to the card that unlike anything else I have ever used before. So I definitely highly recommend the foam tape. And pardon my little messes going on around here. And then we're just going to layer this on top. And then I get it centered before I put all of my foam tape down because I'm really bad at making it perfectly adjusted. I know it looks good on video, but I promise you when I do it at home, I have a really hard time, especially when I'm doing just like an 1/8 border. That's really difficult for me to make sure I get right. And always make sure you lay it on a flat surface or you'll end up with a curled card. But there's our main piece and our main focus. Now remember that piece of cardstock that we took from when we cut that off? Now if I could just find where it landed on my desk. Up here it is. It's hiding out. Now we're going to go ahead and stamp. Now I didn't cut anything down. We're going to stamp our sentiment right on top. Now I wanted to add happy anniversary to this because this was an anniversary card for my husband, and it was required in the group, but he loves blues, so that's why I chose the blues. I know it looks kind of creepy Halloweenish, but that makes him happy, so that's what we're going to go with. We are going to use black ink, and I used a stamping positioner tool. I really want to get a Misty, but I do not have one right now. I will eventually get one. So I'm going to use what I have. A Stamparatus is what I own. And I find that for some things it is not really that great. But that's okay. I'm going to lay my piece of cardstock straight down on my lines so that I know where it is. And notice I do have the foam piece in this. I'll bring it up so you can see it. Now we're going to take and lay out our sentiment. And I have it saying just I love you to the moon and back, which is all three of the pieces. So I'm using all the little stamps in this particular set. And I have to make sure I've got I love you to the moon. And we're just going to try to center this. And we can trim it down. I actually might try to move it. So this is 1 inch. I think this one was 1/4 of an inch. Oh, it was 1/2. So this is not quite 1/2 an inch. So I'll probably trim this. So I'll put it in the center. Center of 1/2 an inch. There we go. And these are really hard to get to stay straight and down. But that's okay. We'll make it work. And then we put moon. And make sure. Now before I go ahead and stamp on this particular piece of paper, because this is my cardstock. Now it looks pretty centered. I'm going to touch it just a little bit. The beauty about making it longer is we'll be able to trim it up to center it perfectly. So there, we've got that. Now I'm going to, I did see how someone did this, and I liked how she did it. I'm going to take a piece of, here it is. This is just stencil paper. It's transparent, but it's good enough to let me know whether I have it straight or not. So I'm going to use just some black ink. I'm going to use probably use the Memento because it's what I have on my desk. I do have the Obsidian from Altenew. I have archival ink. I have lots of black inks. Now when I actually go to do this, I will use both the Versamark and the Memento. But I just wanted to see if I have it straight. Because I can take this, now that it's transparent, and yes! Yay! It's straight. So, now I can just wipe this off with my chamois and be done with it. And I can keep using it just to make sure my stuff is straight. I really liked that technique. And with it being clear, I would be able to even put this over if I was going to be doing this on a actual card. Like if I was going to stamp directly onto the card over here, I could actually make sure that it was straight on something else and look good before I ever did it, which is awesome. So now we know it's straight, and I'm going to put that aside. And now I'm going to, I need to wipe that off again. I don't want to put Versamark in my, I don't want to put Memento in my Versamark. So, and I just threw my Versamark onto the floor. Okay, so Versamark. Some Memento. And make sure I get it on there. Okay. And not too heavy, because this stamp set on the word back, if I get too much, it looks blocky and not very good. So now I'm just going to run across this, and voila. And actually, it looks pretty good. I'm pretty impressed. Now we're just going to take this and do like we did before with some clear powder. It's the beauty of being in a tiny house and in this really small area. It doesn't do well. I'm going to get a little right there. There we go. Alright, now give me a minute. I'm going to heat this, and then I will show you how to do those splatters. And there you go. There's our sentiment. Perfect. It's nice and shiny. It looks good, and it's not too fat with the black embossing powder. because the embossing powder just expands. And when it's black on black or black with the little tiny letters like that, I find that it makes it look blocky, and I don't like that. So there we go. There's our sentiment. So I'm going to move this out of our way. Now, I have these little splatters all over here, and you're probably wondering, well, how did she do that? And I'm doing this last. This is not what I suggest to do. This is what happened when I made this card. So I wanted you to see how I do that trick, because I was like, this isn't good. And what do you do when that happens and you know it needs something else? You splatter over it. So I didn't want to cover up everything, so I'm going to do it before I put my sentiment on. But I'm looking for my little moon embossed sticky. Here's the back of it, and I didn't put it back. That's what I get for not putting it back. So what we're going to use is the little moon I have stamped up here. And you can see I've already used him for this. But we're going to set him right here so that he's not on top. I don't mind if any of the splatters go on the trees that much. You can cover those if you want, but I have a little over here that I kind of want to be splattered. So how I did this was I took a clear block, or you can use your glass plate, which I think I'll use my glass plate for this so you can see the best ways to use your glass plate. And I've just got a brush, and I just used crema coat. This is from Hobby Lobby. It's what I had in my office. I'm going to shake it up a little bit, and I'm just going to put a dollop on my table, which that's probably too much, but that's okay. It's pretty inexpensive. And we're going to take a little water. So just water. I'll move this out of the way. And we're going to spritz some of that water in there. Mix this up. You want to make sure it gets nice and mixed, because you don't want blobs. Oh, and you can see I have blue in this. So it's not going to be what we want it to be. But it's okay. Now that it is all done like that, the closer you are to your paper, the further away you get bigger blobs. So I like to go up and down to do my splatters, and as you can see, my splatters are big and little. And I want them to be white, but I did not clean my brush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm going to clean up my little... See how it turned blue on me? So I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to make some more in white. So it will have a little bit of two-tone, which will be cool. So it's not really a mistake. It's a mistake, but it's not a mistake. It's a cool, happy accident, right? You can even use your water brush if you'd like. I like doing this with paintbrushes, though. You get a better effect. And I'm trying to clean this brush off really well. This is the test, to make sure you clean them. You can always clean over here too, so you can see that it's clean. I should move my phone out of the way. It's just, in a tiny house, you don't have a whole lot of space. Alright, there, we should be clean now, yay! I have so many splatters everywhere. It's okay though. Alright, plate is now clean. Now we're going to do the crema again. And just a tiny dollop, because I don't need a whole lot, right? There we go, tiny dollop. And some water. And see how this is much whiter. Alright, and we're going to do the same thing. And that's probably a lot, but that's okay. I think it makes it look really cool. We're going to wipe this up. And I'm going to do one more splatter, and it's going to be with black. I'm going to use a alcohol marker for that. Now, I'm not using the Altenew markers for this because I don't think I get a very good splatter with their particular alcohol markers. I don't know why, but I don't. So what I do I take these old ones that I've got from Stampin' Up. Where is my bone folder? It should be in this little, here it is. All right, so we're just literally going to go. And it's not going to give me a lot. But it gives me some. And there we go. So now we take the moon off, and you see how we've got a halo around the moon, and we've got these splatters, and you can overlap this with your sentiment if you don't like the big blobs that I got. So we could put it down here, we could put it here. I actually do like it down here, because then you see this kind of a highlight that's right here from that scrap paper that we'd used. So now I'm just going to figure out where I want my sentiment. I'm also going to put a bit of foam tape on one end of it. So what I'm going to start with first is I'm going to put a little glue. And I'm going to put the glue, let's see, I want my sentiment to be about here. So I'm going to put my glue here. Because I know it's going to stick here. So I'm going to figure out where I want it. I want it centered. And I didn't trim this down. I thought I was going to, but I did not. So I'm putting it down. Boom. You could do this before you adhere it there. Either way is fine. It's really your card. You figure out how you want it. And then we're going to take a piece of foam tape. And my scissors, they keep moving on me. Isn't that the way it always is? And then I'm just going to take my foam tape, put it on the back. And see, it moved on me already. And just put it back the way you want it. There we go. And then take our foam tape off. If I can get it off, it doesn't want to come off. There we go. Here's my little scissors. And then I'm going to trim to the white. There we go. And there you have it. There's the card front. Now you just put this on the front of a 2-card base. And there you have the card. Beautiful, isn't it?